right, thank you.
Okay.
All right, thanks, Jason. Good evening. We're going to call the meeting to order, the City of Walker Planning Commission for February 3, 2021. First item on the agenda is a review of the minutes from January 20. Everybody's had a chance to take a look at them. They look pretty good.
Tom had an issue with, there was it shows that he voted no to remove the item from the table. So I'll go ahead and make that change.
Okay. We have a motion then to accept the minutes as with that change.
I'll make that motion.
I'll support.
Motion by Tyler, supported by Scott, to approve the minutes with that minor modification for January 20, 2021. Tricia, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Sure. Mark,
Yes.
Terry,
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Joe, Terry,
Yes.
Yes.
Tyler,
Yep.
Jason,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Pat.
Yes.
You can always give a thumbs up. Steve.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Next item is a opportunity for general public comment. This is an opportunity to basically address a non-agenda item.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. I can't hear you, so I got another problem.
Well, hopefully we'll be able to keep Tom in our sites, and hopefully he'll be able to get connected back in. So is there any general public comment to offer for this evening? Non-agenda item? Any hands raised, Jason?
I don't see any.
Okay, thank you. There being none, we'll move to the first agenda item as far as a project. It's case number 21-0001. Final area site plan and review of a new industrial building, 1705 Northridge Avenue. Now this is a site plan review, so it doesn't require a public hearing. Is that correct, Tricia?
This is a public hearing.
Okay. Oh yeah, that says it right there. All right, it's gonna be a public hearing this evening. I apologize. And Tricia, if you could begin by introducing the project, please.
Okay. I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully you can see my presentation here. Here we go. Okay, so again, this is a final area site plan for Process Engineering and Equipment Company, or as we've been calling this project, PECO. And so the action requested by the Planning Commission tonight is to review the final area site plan for a new 24,300 square foot industrial building and related site improvements, and to provide an approval with or without conditions, denial, or a tabling of the request. So again, this is a final area site plan review, part of the Walker View IPUD. The address is at 1705 Northridge Drive, and it's lot I-19. The site itself is approximately 4.45 acres. Again, this is within the Walker View Industrial PUD. And the future land use designation and community character designation for this parcel is enterprise and business within the Northwest neighborhood. And this is located on the northeast corner of Northridge Drive and Bristol Avenue. And so this project has been headed
I
by
don't know.
Doug Stelzenberg of Excel Engineering on behalf of the parcel owner, which is currently RDG Walker LLC. We also have Tom Miedema, who is on the construction end of things. And then I think we have some representatives from Pico with us tonight. And also Don DeGroot, I believe, is here in place of Doug. I could be wrong on that. I was just reading the screen names.
You're correct, Tracy.
Okay, Trisha,
Right.
thanks. So just a little bit of background, some information that was provided to us from the applicant. Pico is a manufacturer's representative and fabricator slash distributor of industrial HVAC equipment, parts and service. And they actually have an existing facility currently located on 6 Mile Road in Comstock Park, not too far from here. And it's my understanding that they have plans to grow their fabrication and repair facilities so that they can provide a larger working space for this. And their new building would allow for this additional growth, plus the site would allow for some future expansion. So here's a aerial view of the site itself, 1705 Northridge. It is directly across from our friends at Folk Panel. And again, it's site I-19 within the Walker View IPUD. So they're proposing some pretty basic improvements. As I mentioned, a 24,300 square foot building, which will enclose quite a bit of office space, and they'll have their shop in there for their fabrication. And they also have some loading docks for some shipping, receiving, and distribution. They are proposing 45 parking spaces. And they're adding sidewalk all along Bristol and their frontage of Northridge Drive, which will add to the connectivity of these industrial areas. They're proposing some landscape plantings, which will be pretty heavy along Bristol Avenue. They have some associated stormwater management improvements, and again, they have some space for a future expansion or a phase 2 with added parking. So, a couple of items. This is a fairly straightforward project, and we don't have a ton of comments. But I'm just going to go through I'm just going to go through a few items that are related to the proposed conditions of approval. So the first one that I want to touch on real quick here is the lighting. So lighting, this is the first time I've ever seen a 3D photometric plan like this, which I thought was amazing. So I wanted to put that up there because it's cool, and also just to give you a feel for where this lighting on the back of the building is proposed. So this is the rear of the building, and I just noticed that there were some illuminations and foot candles that were pretty high on this end of the building. Normally it wouldn't be a huge issue, but we have a lot of existing residential over here right behind the building, so that that rear of the building is going to be roughly right around here. We do have a lot of buffer, these trees and a lot of scrub brush and stuff on this parcel here, but this is all zoned residential. So we want to be sensitive to our neighbors. And with that, I've just asked that the illuminations be reduced to no more than 10-foot candles on that back side. I also wanted to point out that they are proposing a good number of plantings here along Bristol, which is going to be really good for that corner. And staff is okay with the landscape plan that's been submitted, but we know that sometimes things will change after the planning commission provides approval. And if we don't get a condition in there that says that the applicant can work with staff to make any revisions to the landscape plan prior to the issuance of occupancy, then we end up having to go back to the planning commission. And so we would just like the planning commission to allow staff to work with the applicant in the event that any changes are proposed to the landscape plan. There are none at this time. The other thing is that the cover sheet, we'd like to have that revised so that it's the latest and greatest plan. I gave Doug some direction on this, but if he's going to need some assistance with taking this approved PASP and adding it as the cover sheet, I can certainly give some direction and some assistance. And I think that he contacted Justin Longstreth from Moore and Bruce Inc., who drew up this plan. But we'd just like to see the latest and greatest plan with all of the easements and parcels and some of the development sites that have already been built out. Oops. So my recommendation is pretty simple. I'm recommending that the Planning Commission grant final area site plan approval for the industrial building for Pico at 1705 Northridge Drive, subject to the following conditions. I'd like to see a revised photometric plan that demonstrates reduced illumination and foot candles, not to exceed 10-foot candles on the north side of the building prior to the issuance of a building permit. That the applicant shall provide an updated cover sheet that includes current boundaries, parcel configuration, and ownership of the Walker View CPUD/IPUD development prior to the issuance of a building permit. And the applicant shall revise the sheet index to include all the sheets within the plan set submittal prior to the issuance of a building permit. And the Planning Commission allows staff to work with the applicant on any proposed changes to the landscape plan prior to the issuance of occupancy. And then, of course, the applicant shall also address all of the items outlined in the city engineer's report dated January 27, 2021. Any questions?
Thanks, Tricia. Any comments or questions on information that Tricia covered?
This is Joe. I was impressed with the lighting. Did the neighbors complain, or who picked that up with a needed less lighting over there?
Nobody complained, but it was brought to my attention that this site plan or a site plan came before you guys for a previous potential tenant and at that space or occupant at that space. And it's my understanding that there was a neighbor who was concerned. I've not heard from that neighbor, but I just wanted to make sure, in the beginning that we are sensitive to the neighbors, and lighting is always one of those things that if we can catch it in the before construction, then that's better.
That was a good move. Thank you, Tricia.
Yeah, just to tie on top of that, we did have that neighbor come in, and their key element was lighting and landscaping along that. And in the past, they were not as concerned with development as they were just help try to buffer that residential. So that helps you out a little bit on that, Joe. I do remember them coming in.
Very good. Any other comments, questions? Okay, thanks, Tricia. We'll move to Scott Connors, city engineer, please.
Maybe to help out, the neighbor to the north was the Rogers family, Ken Rogers, and he's been working with us all along the way. So I think it's good that we're watching out for him and his interest there. So thank you. Only 2 comments from us, both easy ones. There still needs to be a fire hydrant on the north side of the site there. We did work with the fire department to try to find an easy way for these guys to make that work along Bristol, but it just didn't work out from a water main restriction standpoint. So they will have to add a private hydrant on the site on the back. I think that was brought up during site plan review, so they should be quite well aware of it. So if that could be a condition, and I think if you make my memo a condition, that would apply just fine, then we'd be good. And the other issue is the one that you hear just about every meeting, that the sidewalk in front of the site, because it's part of the parking lot essentially. It's an integral curb that we recommend that be 7 feet instead of 5 feet. And I did cut and paste a picture in this time because I think where the door is, it becomes very evident if someone parks in front of the door and they overlap it even 1 foot and the door opens out as it's shown. That's quite an impediment, especially for somebody that's handicapped. So we just kind of fall back to that idea that if it's going to be part of the sidewalk and part of the curb for the parking lot, let's make it 7 feet. And that is all we have.
Thanks, Scott. Any comments or questions for Scott? Okay. At this point,
I have one comment if I could, please. Tom from Minimum Metal Buildings. The previous site that was approved on this build, there was a building that was approved by Walker on this site, and that site had no sidewalk across the whole front of the building. And that was approved. So how is it now that we can't have a 5-foot sidewalk?
I guess my recommendation is if you're going to put a sidewalk there and you're going to encourage people to use it, that it should be 7 feet so that you've got 5 usable feet. And I'll fall back to that comment, the way that you show the front door. That's a real restriction point, and that should be the most open point on the site.
But that front door is inset another 3 foot from the face of the sidewalk. It's not in the same line.
My opinion hasn't changed.
Pardon?
so that will be, we've heard your comment on it, Mr. Miedema, and got the input of staff, and we'll proceed with this part to give the applicant an opportunity to present the project. And is there, will it be Don, Tom, you be taking the lead on that?
Well, this is Don. I can start off, and Tom and the applicant can offer some input as well. I think Tricia, and I apologize for getting your name wrong, Tricia, but I think she summarized the project quite well. We're looking at a first phase of a 2-phase project, about 24,000 square feet, and it's pretty much site ready for development. And I think the landscaping was discussed, and we pretty much match what was previously approved. And I guess for the lighting, I certainly don't think we have a problem in providing less foot candles. I guess we'd have to defer to the lighting designer. Those 10-foot candles that are referenced as a maximum, they occur very close to the fixture itself. And it doesn't go much beyond maybe 15 feet past those fixtures. So we do need to provide the required lighting beyond that, beyond those fixtures. And if we reduce them at the fixture, of course, we're going to reduce it beyond that. So we just need to balance that, but we'll look at trying to provide that. Getting back to the sidewalk, understood that, you know, the standard width of a sidewalk is 5 feet, and our thoughts there is if you're talking about a retail type establishment where people are coming and going often, that 5-foot walk becomes more important than if people are just coming into a business like this and you don't have as much pedestrian turnover. And I thought even if cars hang over 2 feet, incidentally, we're providing a full 18-foot width or depth to the parking lot. We're not taking any depth away from your required parking length. And so, but understood, people do drive up to that walk, but there would still be, even if there was a 2-foot overhang, which isn't typically anything more than that, there's still 3 feet, which is ADA compliant. But maybe one alternative is to provide a 6-foot walk or a 7-foot walk between those 2 entrances to open it up in the area where it's a little more usable by those who need it for barrier-free reasons. But we think the 5-foot is adequate for this application, and other than maybe widening it right at that entrance between the 2 doors, think it would function properly. And I guess with anything else that comes up, be happy to answer the questions. And don't know if there's anything more you want to add, Tom?
Yeah, well, on the, that fire hydrant placement, I know what we did. We built a facility across the street, Design Manufacturing, and then we ran a water line through the building and then popped back out, and we put one like 10 foot away from the building. Would that be acceptable? On the
I think
northeast
the fire
corner?
department, go ahead.
That'd be on the northeast corner?
I think they prefer to see it on the northwest corner, because they'll drag it as they drive their fire truck in. They won't drive to the very end and then drag backwards. They'll stop short of the fire. So they probably prefer the northwest corner, but they just need something on the backside.
Because the northwest corner is, that's going to be on that's phase 2 area, you might say. That's what you're saying, thinking?
Well, either the northwest corner of phase 2 or the northwest corner of phase 1.
Hmm.
Okay. Any other comments or questions for the applicant? You've got a separate drive there for to serve the loading area, and it's well suited on the west end of the site, and you've got notation of no left turns for trucks moving out of there. So that's good design and consistent with the Walker View development. Just wondering, how much activity do you have as far as loading activity throughout the week, in or out of the property?
Travis Vanderkalk is the owner. He's on here. Can you address that one, Travis?
Yeah. Typically that's why we only put 1 truck dock in there. We might get 1 truck a day that comes and goes, and we have UPS and FedEx, and that's the only shipping that we typically do out of our facility.
So it sounds like, at least for the time being, there'll be low activity for that area, which again, given the adjacency of the residents right now, will be a good fit. Over time, I would imagine your operations may change a bit, and likewise, we may see a change in the use of the properties to the north, but it sounds like a good fit for the time being, without the landscaping and the measures that are suggested in terms of the lighting. Any other comments from the commission?
Well, if I may, on that foot candles, because if you there was 2 pages to that lighting design, and the one showed the actual foot candles, the other one was the 3D rendering. And if you looked at the foot candles, by the time you get to the end of the property, I don't know that there was even any light on the render on that that was leaving the property. But if we got to bring it down to 10-foot candles to comply, I mean, that's not a big problem.
I was looking at the photometric plan. And So, I mean, some of the foot candles were as high as, I want to say like 17 on there. So I just don't think it's necessary. And with that side of the building facing residential, if we could be as, conservative as possible with the lighting on that side, the better.
So from my perspective on that, we should at least show a 0-foot candle at the property line all the way through. Because right now I think it's cut off just at the asphalt lines. You should show it where it is to the property line.
With the way the recommendation is on that condition, it specifies a 10-foot candle. Mr. DeGroot pointed out that as they look at balancing the light on the property, that may or may not be an issue. We might want to consider allowing some flexibility for staff to work with that 10-foot candle limitation, so that if it has to be adjusted somewhat, we don't have to come back to the planning commission to address that.
Yeah, I would be comfortable with that. If we changed the condition to say, to take out 10-foot candles, but instead say, to reduce, a revised photometric plan shall be submitted which demonstrates a reduced illumination in foot candles on the north side of the building. That's fine with me.
Okay, there's no other conversation right now. Again, this is advertised as a public hearing. We have a motion to open the hearing, please.
Make motion, Steve.
Support.
Motion by Steve, supported by Tyler, to open the public hearing. Tricia?
Mark,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Joe? Scott,
Yes.
Jason,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yep.
Pat,
Yep.
Tom? Steve?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Motion carried. We're open to public hearing. This is an opportunity for anyone in the audience to offer any comment on this project. You can either, there's a way on your access here to virtually raise your hand. And then Jason Rotman will be able to recognize you, unmute you, and give you an opportunity to talk. If you're contacted into this meeting by phone, I think it's is it *9 or *6, Jason?
That's *6.
*6. So is there anyone who would wish to offer comment on this?
I'm not seeing any hands raised.
Okay. All right. There's no public comment being offered. Do we have a motion to close the hearing?
Mr. Chair, before we go into that, we should probably enter into the record that there was a letter of support from Bulk Panel,
Very
their
good.
neighbor across the street.
Very good point.
And I'll make the motion to close the public hearing.
Okay, motion by Jason with that notation.
Support.
Support by Tyler to close the public hearing. Tricia, if you could run through the roll call, please.
Mark,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Jason,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Pat,
Yep.
Tom, Steve?
Yes.
Okay, motion carried. We're out of public hearing. We've had some discussion. I think the lighting, the sidewalk in front of the front door were a couple items that were mentioned. If there's any other conversation on that, otherwise we may be ready for considering a motion.
Terry, I'd like to say something about the sidewalk.
Yes.
We have a similar setup at my work. I've been there 33 years. We built it 31 years ago. It has a 5-foot sidewalk with parking up against it. Over the years, there's been numerous times I've had to have people move their cars because they hang over the sidewalk too far, especially trucks. If you back up to it with a hitch, you're in 3 feet on the sidewalk. So we've had problems with that. I would change it if I could, but the building's been built 32 years ago. But I think it's a great idea to go to 7 feet. That's just my opinion.
So I'll make a couple comments there, and just kind of going off of my other comment with the, zero lighting at the lot line. I think that's just important to show that. And then it sounds like that can easily be worked out at a staff level. In regards to the sidewalk, I think that there's some merit there to having it larger, but I also kind of like the idea of just between the 2 front doors and then the ADA parking stalls are there. So it gives them kind of the opportunity to get into those areas, but then it's not essentially forcing them to do the sidewalk across the whole entire front face. So maybe that's a thought on that. The only other thing I was going to comment on was we have quite a few blue spruce trees that are on that southeast corner. And I didn't know if that was going to be a potential issue from a site, with cars or anything like that. And given that we had some sensitivity with the neighbor, that was one of their requests. I just wonder if potentially moving those to the north side to kind of help with the lighting would help too. Other than that, in regards to Pico, I think, great project. I've been to their other facility. These guys do a great job. I have no doubt that they're going to be a fantastic partner in Walker. So.
Thank you, Jason. Any other comments, questions?
I think to Jason's comment, if we add to the motion or the condition on the lighting, if we add on the north side of the building with photometrics shown to the property line for the entire site. So should have that on there.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, can you hear me now?
Tom?
Okay, I'm having audio issues again. But anyways, I'll make my comments and then I'll probably hold my peace. But I agree wholeheartedly with the sidewalk. 5 feet is not enough as Tyler pointed out, when you back up to it. I think we need to minimize the lighting on the north to the most as we can. A couple other comments. That truck turning template for the future expansion will not work, but that's going to be the truck driver's problem. KCRC doesn't own the property on the south side of Northridge. It shows on one of those sheets. And the architectural plans say the building's on Bristol. So I think that should reflect the address on Northridge. So that's my comments.
Thank you, Tom. Any other comments, discussion? Do we have someone ready to offer a motion, please?
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chair. Case number 21-001, motion for Pico lot I-19 of the Walker PUD, 1705 Northridge Drive, I make a motion to approve final area site plan approval for a new 24,300 square foot industrial building and related site improvements for Pico on lot I-19 of the Walkerview IPUD, also known as 1705 Northridge Drive Northwest, per the plans set last revised dated 1/18/21, subject to the following conditions. A revised photometric plan shall be submitted which demonstrates reduced illumination and foot candles on the north side of the building to the lot line prior to issuance of building permit. Number 2, the applicant shall provide an updated cover sheet that includes the current boundaries, parcel configuration, and ownership of the Walkerview CPUD IPUD development prior to the issue of the building permit. Number 3, the applicant shall revise the sheets index to include all sheets within the plan set submittal prior to the issuance of a building permit. The planning commission will allow staff work with the applicant on any proposed changes to the landscape plan prior to the issuance of occupancy. The applicant shall address all the items outlined in the city engineer's report dated January 27, 2021. Finding is fact. The Walker IPUD, as detailed by the final area site plan, continues to meet the standards contained in the subsection 3G regarding preliminary site plan content and does meet any other applicable standards for review. The final area site plan is in substantial compliance with the previously approved Walkerview PASP, consisting of the maps and accompanying written material required under subsection 2 of section 94-213. The final area site plan complies with the uses permitted by the Walkerview IPUD and any prohibition of specific uses by the planning commission pursuant to section 94-213(3)J. Appropriate service by public water and sewage utilities, public roads, and other essential services will be available for the immediate use of occupants of lot I-19 of the Walkerview IPUD. Lot I-19 will direct access to public collector or arterial streets. All future uses on lot I-19 will be designed, constructed, and operated to comply with the performance standards as provided by Article 15 of the Walker zoning ordinance. Loading docks and truck maneuvering areas will be designed and located so as not to adversely affect adjacent and neighboring lands or uses due to noise, odor, light, or other external effect. Except as otherwise expressly approved by the planning commission, all permitted principal uses on lot I-19 will be conducted within a completely enclosed building except for loading and unloading operations, on-site parking of vehicles, and the reasonable storage of materials and products which are related to the principal use of lot I-19 as shown on the final area site plan.
Thank you. We got a motion by Tyler. Support by Steve. Any other comments or questions about the motion? All those in favor, through the roll call vote with Tricia, please.
Mark,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Jason,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Pat,
Yes.
Tom, Steve.
Yes.
All right. Motion carries. Thank you very much and welcome to Walker. It looks like a good fit at that location, and we wish you well.
Nice. Thank you for your time. Have a good night.
Good time.
You as well.
Thanks, everyone.
Tricia, looking at
I almost left the meeting.
anything to offer as additional comment or Tricia?
Just have a few things coming up. The 17th, we've got a couple of we've got the Starbucks that's proposed for lot C1 of the Westtown PUD. We also have an accessory building for our Silhouettes Mortuary. And we also have the Aloft Hotel for a third time.
Shouldn't the Starbucks be on latte?
What's that?
Shouldn't the Starbucks be on latte? Sorry.
That was a good one.
Just a heads up, Tricia, I won't be at the 17th meeting.
Okay. I am going to be, I'm going to be out next week. I'm having a surgery on February 10th, and so I'm planning on getting the planning commission packet out for the February 17th meeting on Tuesday of next week. And so I should be okay to be at the meeting. It's gonna be Zoom again. But if not, Frank will be covering for me. So, and then we have a couple things going in front of you in March. We've got a final preliminary plat for Summerbrook 2. And we have a courtesy site plan review for Covenant Christian High School, some improvements that they're proposing over there. And then we have an industrial PUD that would have gone before the planning commission on the 17th, but I reviewed their plans today and they're not ready. And I don't need Tyler yelling at me and asking why it's on the agenda. No, they really are not ready.
Sorry.
Other than that, I think we're gonna end up getting pretty busy in the near future with some pretty packed agendas. I can feel it.
Any other comments?
You know, with Lincoln Lawns coming up, there's an awful lot of chatter online. I would recommend that people look and educate themselves what other people are saying. A lot on Facebook, citizens of Walker and stuff. I'm
aware of that. I'm aware of a certain real estate agent who is taking it upon himself to educate the residents of Walker on development projects. I don't comment on those.
Oh, no.
But I do follow it just to see, like, you know, what people are talking about.
Yeah, if you do read them, don't comment. I mean, I would never comment as a member of the planning commission on any of it. I just try to keep my thumb on what's going around town. So.
Yep, that's the reason I stay on top of it as well.
All right.
One more thing, Terry, Winchester Woods Phase 3, they're moving into construction phase. So even though that's been stagnant for a while, they're really pushing hard now for the detailed stuff, which is the plan and profile sheets, which is the engineering stuff, and the sewer and water permits. So I think they're hoping to get started out there in the next couple months.
Now that'll complete that loop between Shannon and Tall Timber?
There's a partial loop there, yeah.
Okay. All right. Very good. Good to hear. I think we're at the end of the agenda.
Yep, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Anybody opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you very much.
Night, everybody.
Thanks, guys. Have a great night.